Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Programa ASID webinar. I'm just going to give it another minute or two for some more people to trickle in. But while we're waiting, I'd love to know where all of you are joining us from. So if you could put your city into the chat box, that would be great. And maybe the type of designer that you are, so residential, commercial. Love to hear any of that information. Wow, that's amazing. As Melissa mentioned, she wrote up in the chat box there. She is one of our program account managers, as well as myself. So if you do have questions as we're going through this webinar, feel free to pop them into that chat box. And we'll do our best to answer all the questions while we're on the call. Otherwise, we will get back to you afterwards because we'll have all your emails. And you can always pop into our live chat function. So today, I'm not sure if some of you are current users or if you're new to the platform, welcome. Super excited to chat with you today. If you have sat into one of these webinars before, it might be a bit of repetitive information that I've shared with you, but still very informative. And it's always good to kind of have a refresher on the platform regardless. So today, let me just share my screen with all of you. Okay, perfect. Great. So a little bit of background on Programa. So Programa was founded in 2020 in Australia. So that's where our head office is located in Melbourne. And then we've gone international about a year ago. So we're actually in 75 countries around the world with about 8,500 designers on the platform. So it's growing extremely fast, which is super exciting for us. And our internal team is international as well. So myself, I'm located in Toronto, Canada. Melissa's in Chicago. And then we also have account managers in the UK. And of course, our head office is in Melbourne. So it started off as a specification software. That's our most robust feature. So today, what we're going to be doing is kind of doing an overview of the entire platform. Obviously, we have quite an extensive tool set, so we're not going to be able to go super in depth into every bit and bob of the platform. But like I said, general overview. If you do have specific questions that you'd like to go over with us after the fact, Melissa and I are very happy to have personal one-on-one chats with you. Something super unique about Programa, well, there's a couple things. It was founded by an interior designer. I'm an interior designer myself. All of the account managers have some kind of design experience, whether that was working in studio, owning their own interior design businesses. So there's a lot of industry knowledge built into the platform. You can kind of see that built into the entire tool set, as well as just the fact that the platform is really aesthetically pleasing, which is super important to all of us. And that is seen across all of our customer service as well. So we don't outsource any of our customer service, whether you're chatting to us on live chat, email, or obviously on calls. You're always speaking to one of us from the Programa team. Now, to actually get into Programa itself, we're going to do a little run through, like I said. So what I'm showing you here is our main projects page. So Programa is meant to streamline your entire workflow. So like I said, from concept phase through to construction, whether it's more architectural finishes or you're doing more so of a styling project, it's customizable in the sense that you can pick and choose the type of specs that you're inputting or working on different types of projects. So you'll have all your live projects here, and you'll always have this toolbar. on the left-hand side. So the project page is essentially your home page, and then you can create and start new projects up in the right-hand corner here. Now your tool set, we have time tracking, to-do list, and studio. That's all encompassing of our project management side of the platform, whereas procurement, purchase orders, invoicing is going to link more so to your schedules and products themselves. So all the projects filter into those tools. And then we have address book, which is your vendors, clients, image library, pretty straightforward. You house your pictures, and then your product library where you can house your frequently used products just for easy use when you're respecifying them again in the future. Help center down the very bottom, that is our live chat center, as well as where we house all of our help articles and video tutorials on the entire platform. So if you ever need anything, it's most likely in that help guide center. Now diving into my project here. If there's anyone joining from Toronto, you'll be familiar with Yorkville. Okay, so inside my Yorkville project, or any project that you start, you'll have your project file list. So within Programa, our built-in files are schedules, which are going to refer to your specification sheets, Pinboards, which is our mood board presentation tool, and then we also just integrated with Canva. So if you are doing presentations outside of the platform in Canva, you can now embed them into Programa too, which is awesome. I'm a huge Canva fan. You can start from scratch, hit the plus button down the bottom, schedules, Pinboards, Canva. Now, like I said, every project is custom, so you can choose whether it's commercial, hospo, residential from the list here. Set up your currency, measurement system, and tax preferences at a project level. So if you are working out of state, out of province, out of country, you can kind of pick and choose at a project level the type of costing for that project. You can update everything with your own branding, cover images, logos, as well as assign the projects to your specific team members. If you do have quite a big team, you can kind of pick and choose who's working on what. It's also a question people often ask me with different permissions when it comes to team members. So you can be an owner, an admin, or a designer on the platform. So designers is the, I don't want to say lowest tier, but that's the only thoughts that can come to my mind. Lowest permissions. So designers have to be assigned to specific projects in order from an admin or an owner, and they can't access the invoicing and financials, whereas admins and owners do have that capability. Now, another really kind of key point, or hero piece, I should say, for Programa is that everything is on a cloud-based software, meaning that when you are updating, you're respecifying, it's all going to update in real time. And you can also build out a customized project dashboard for every single project and every client, which is really user-friendly. We'll go into that in a little bit. I'll show you an example of what it looks like. But this is kind of the back end of that. So you can customize it with your own cover image. You can choose the default view of how you'd like to show things to clients. So whether it's in a list view and a card, that'll make more sense when I show you in a second. Shared files is a space just for external documents. So if you have your CAD drawings, contracts, invoices, just extra documents that are external to Programa, you can upload those onto the dashboard for your client to have access to as well. Alrighty. So I'm going to go through project management first. So every project has its own project management tab. So just at the top here. And then we have 3 different views. So first things first, what I do is hit this little file folder looking button at the top. This is where you set up your project through the planning phase. So say I'm in for example, this project's active. I can see my start and end date. So even if it's approximate, you can kind of set it. If it's going to be a month, if it's going to be a year, 3 months, etc. You can see all the team members that are assigned to this project, how many tasks you need to complete in order to finish the project, as well as you start to accumulate time using our time tracking function, you can see it accumulated within that overall card. Now, project phases, these are all examples. So it's just what I've labeled them. You can create your own phases. So these sit on the timeline view, and you can add due dates per phase. So say I've added project admin, which would go across the entire project, but say concept phase, hit the 3 dots here, edit, is only about 3 weeks a month. So I would go through, add all the dates to each phase, because that's what's going to pop up onto my timeline view here. So I currently have mine set at a quarter. So it's from November, January, 3 months, and where I can see all the phases for the project and kind of compare your workload. And the reason I say to set up your phases first is because from the board view, this is more of a visual board of all of the things you need to accomplish within that project. When you create your task cards, so you can hit add task down the bottom here. It gives you this blank card. But when you're setting them up, you can actually choose what phase all of the tasks are assigned to. So that's why I just think it's handy to set those up first. Alrighty, so you'll have the overall task that needs to be accomplished. I have a description, and then I have subtasks within that task. You can get really detailed with this. And you can drag and drop these guys around, and you can add your own custom labels. So we've tagged them as procurement or admin. Those are all, like I said, customs. You can really tag them whatever you like. You kind of have your own internal studio language. I can choose whether, if I'm the project manager and I'm assigning everybody their work, I can go in here, mark it as to do, in progress review, etc. Assign the task to a certain person or multiple people. So when I add people to these cards, they'll get an email that they've been assigned a task. And then target date would be your due date, when I need that done by. Key phase, or sorry, key date, I should say. You can turn these on and off. That essentially is marking it as a milestone. So there isn't direct dependencies built into the timelines just yet, but your milestones are essentially acting as that. So if I turn this, say, ground floor plan as a key date, that's going to pop up onto my timeline view. Just here, these red diamonds. So those are my key dates. So I usually mark site visits, client presentations, things like that, that I actually need to kind of be like, hey, okay, this has to happen before the next task can happen, etc. And I can click on those from timeline view. And a couple other things on task cards. This stopwatch function is our time tracking feature. Attachments, so you can actually upload files to the specific card. So say I finished this floor plan, I export the PDF, I want my the principal designer to review it. I'll mark this to review, and then I'll upload the floor plan directly to that card, and then they can give me feedback within the comments here. So these cards can drag and drop. You'll notice that as I just marked that to review, it popped over into this column now. List view is essentially same as the task board view. It's just a different kind of look to it. I personally like the to-do list. I like to check my tasks off, feel like I'm accomplishing something. But if you're more visual, then you have the options there. I'm sure some of you are wondering about time tracking, because I did mention that. So you do have to have your task cards set up, or you need something to assign time to, and they all filter to the time tracker here on the left. So time tracker is going to give you a bird's eye view of the entire project, the entire team, how many hours, but you can filter between projects. time frame. So if you just want to see this week, the last month, or say the entire project, I want to see 3 months, you can custom that date range. The designers can only see their own hours, whereas admins, owners can see everybody's hours, and you can export a really detailed report from this time tracker. New time entry would be manually adding time. So I can do that at the end of the day if that's easier, because I know sometimes we're bouncing around on 100 different tasks. You're not necessarily working on one for the entire day. You don't really want that timer just running. So you have the option to do either or. You can manually add them in or have the stopwatch function. The only thing with that is just make sure you have some kind of card to assign it to, as I mentioned before. Okay, cool. That's time tracking. And one thing I'll mention with that as well is the time tracker hours do pull into invoicing. So they will essentially collate into a total amount of hours per project per person if you are billing the clients at an hourly rate. Okay. Now, last bit on project management, it's my favorite feature, is Studio. So basically what it does is takes all of those project management tabs within each project and then filters them into one view. So if you want to see your workload across the entire, sorry, I just read one of the chat messages and got distracted. Studio view, bird's eye view of all of your projects. It's really handy to just see everybody's workload, or me, myself, I'll usually go into members and then just filter it to my own tasks. So I can see, okay, this is my whole to-do list across multiple projects, which is handy to see. And then I can see, okay, what's due this week. Okay, I got 2 things to work on. Fabulous. And again, if you're the project manager, you can come right into Studio View and then just create everybody's tasks and workload right from the Studio View, as opposed to having to go into every single project. So you can do it all right from here. You just have to choose the project that you're assigning the work to. In Timeline View, super handy because you can actually see where all of those phases are sitting, see what's going to be in construction at the same time, see what's going to be during procurement. You can kind of manage your workload and see if you actually have capacity to take on another project right from the Timeline View. Again, you can filter this by the month or the entire year. Okay, I hope I didn't fly through that too quickly. To-do list, I'll quickly touch on this. I call this more so a sticky note. So everybody has their own personal to-do list. It's not linked to any projects per se, just kind of like my daily to-dos. This is going to be updated in the future too in our next releases of project management. So it's, yeah, just there to be handy. Okay, cool. Next bit, Pinboards. I'm going to briefly touch on this because I think schedules are more important, so I want to spend more time there. But Pinboards are our mood board presentation tool. So I use this more so in the concept phase of the design project to create kind of the vibe of the project. You can use this internally as a team too if you just want to kind of dump ideas into one place, work collaboratively on it, web clip some images in here, and not necessarily even share it with the client, but you have both options. So it's all broken up into different sections. You can double click on these headers here. The pictures just drag and drop around. Now, I'm sure some of you are curious how we get these pictures to look so perfectly lined up. Couple little tricks. What I usually do is I'll create all my sections like I am here, and then change the headers. Say lighting, finishes, Now, I personally still love Pinterest. I know some people are up in the air about Pinterest lately, but I think it's great for just kind of pulling together mood board ideas. We do integrate with Pinterest, which is why I mentioned it. So do a quick run through of that. It's basically what you do. Make your mood board on Pinterest first, and then I'm going to copy and paste that URL back into Programa. Hit enter, and then that auto-populates all my pictures right into Programa. So then I'll just select the ones I want so they don't automatically all pull in, and hit add. Again, really quick and easy. That's kind of the basis for it, is we're just trying to make your life easier and just allow you to pull together some images quite on the fly. So I'll usually crop my pictures to line them up. Sometimes I know it's not realistic to crop the picture because there's not really any white space. In that instance, I use Canva. So I'll pop in all my pictures into Canva templates, make sure they're all lined up, download them, and then re-upload them into here. So I know it's a bit of an extra step, but if you are kind of finicky about it like me, that's how I do it. So you would just hit this plus button, add from files. So that's pictures from your computer. And that's how I got floor plans into here. They do have to be JPEG, PNG files on Pinboards. Product library, super handy. I think that's my word of the day, it's handy. If you're specifying items into the Pinboards already, I've used these in the past, you want to throw together a presentation, you can pull in all the images right from here. One thing to note, which I'm sure some of you are curious about, Pinboards isn't going to have any specification data. So it is just images and then a backlink to a website. You can add notes on here. So say this is bedside table light, but it's not going to pull in all those specs notes necessarily. Alrighty, and then you can share this guy onto your client dashboard, publish to the web. It makes a beautiful mini website for your presentation, updates in real time when you're sharing with clients. It's also nice to just have in the background if you are doing an in-person presentation. I like to have this up on my iPad or even up on the screen if you're lucky enough to have a studio with a screen TV on the wall. And you can share this in person, kind of go through it with them. So that is Pinboards. Now, next bit, kind of our hero piece, is our specification sheet, so your schedules. So schedules, again, are customizable based on how you like to work. So I have a couple of different schedules here: furniture, fittings and fixtures, finishes, and then lighting, all separated because I do them by product type. You can do this by room. You can do one big master schedule. It's kind of up to you, because when you create them from scratch, they won't be broken up into these sections. That's just how I've done it. But you can, like I said, double click in these headers to change. Say if this was kitchen. That's simple to do. Same with all of these fields. So you just click into the boxes. That's how you change everything. So really easy to use. When I hit new, I can do a new section, custom product, or pull products from my library. A couple different options there. I'm going to use the kitchen example again. So one thing to note, you have all the different tabs here at the top. So summary view is going to be all your specification data. So that's always going to show your measurements, finishes, pictures, etc. first. So that's going to be your main page. You can go into the details view. Let's swap schedules here. Details. So every product has a details tray. You can have up to 4 different images per product. where I can add custom spec notes. So you can have up to 10 different custom spec line items, or if you're doing component products, you can add them into custom specs, as well as add any important notes, and then internal notes are not going to export. Just internal notes won't export out on the documents, but everything else will. So from here, I can either export an entire summary document of my specs into PDF or Excel form, which looks something like this. So nicely exported out, really clean, easy to read. It might be a bit small on your screen, but it does print out in A3. You can change the sizing, whatever you need at the print level, but it will be much bigger when you export it out. So that's the summary document. Otherwise, you can also export individual product sheets for each product. So this is great for lighting, or if you're doing custom pieces, or sometimes a lot of designers ask me about, they make export packages for their clients, or like a project binder. So this is a really great way. You'll get the whole summary document as well as every product sheet when you're exporting. So this exports out in a couple seconds. Honestly, it's really quite efficient that way. Up in the corner, so the 3 dots, it's like your magic button on Programa. So anything you need to rename, edit, copy, export, it's always within the 3 dots of individual product, or for the entire document. So I can copy to rename, like I said, pull up your procurement tab. So there's the toggles here that won't automatically show up. We do that because not every studio does procurement, so you can turn it on and off. And same with your archived items. So you can archive things away and easily pull them back up, especially when you're going through the respecification process. Things have been rejected. You don't necessarily want to delete them, just in case. Archive them away. You can easily pull them back in. Just going to check the time. Okay, we're good. Alrighty. So I'm going to show you how our web clipper works. So we do have this Programa web clipper. So it is a Google Chrome extension that'll sit up in your toolbar. So you can use this for easy specifying. So what you do, you go on the product that you'd want to pull into a schedule. And I'll open up my web clipper, which pulls up this white box here. So I have the option, it'll auto clip to schedule, which is for a specific project. So just make sure you're setting up your project first and have at least one schedule to specify product into. Otherwise, the clipper doesn't know where you want it to go. And so it'll auto clip to schedule, or you can clip items to your library. If you're sourcing, you want to save something for later, pop it into your library, or you can also clip to Pinboard. So clipping to Pinboard is kind of cool. It actually pulls all the pictures from the website. So if you're sourcing images when you're mood boarding, you can also use this clipper. Now, to get my spec info, all you're going to do, so I'll right click on the image that pulls the picture, or I can use this screenshotter, and that will pull the pictures as well. So it depends on the website. Some of them are a bit more finicky when it comes to pictures, so you might have to use a screenshooter. Depends. And information-wise, I like to highlight my info. So the black box will pop up, and then I'm just selecting where it goes. So say that's product description. This is the brand, and then it fills it out for me on the left. So I'll just go through, fill everything out, finish. Really quick and easy. You can use these plus buttons too, or type. Sometimes I find it easier to just honestly type the numbers. But you can use this plus button. Lead time, notes. I like to highlight the whole description. And the best part is those pesky PDFs that we have to keep track of, you can use the attachment button. So hit this plus and then just click the PDF and it pulls the document for you, saves it and in place into that product, which is phenomenal. Okay, from there, once you're happy with everything, hit this click button, choose the project you'd like to assign it to, and then pop it into whatever schedule. So I'll put it in fittings, and then I made that kitchen section, so I'll put it there. And voila. Now, if you want them in your library too, it doesn't automatically sync to your product library. So you can click add to product library and just clip it again if you want it in both. Otherwise, you can always bulk import. So I can use these check mark boxes, add to product library. So as you notice, everything does kind of sync together quite seamlessly and connects together. Once you start playing around, it's pretty easy to get the hang of. Now I'm just going to show you all of the sharing and client dashboard side of things. So each product has status. So these statuses are handy for internal use when you're specifying. This is what you use to get client reviews and approvals on product, as well as procurement process. So I can mark all these to client review. Just go to this dashboard. So when you want you to share, you're ready to share with your client, you hit this share button here. Add in their email address, so they'll receive an email from you just with a link to the schedule as well as the dashboard. So they don't have to make a username or a login or anything like that. They just need to hit that link in their email and it brings them to the dashboard. So it's very user-friendly on the client-facing side too, which we love. But you will have to give them access. So see how it says partial access under Melissa's name here? You just have to turn on can approve, or you can also hide certain things. So if you don't want them to necessarily see where you're sourcing from, just turn those toggles off. Okay. So what I'm showing you here is the client-facing view. This is customized. This is what we went over in the beginning with your cover image and logo. Now you still have full control over what they see. So these schedules are only going to pop up if you add their email in, but it just places everything nicely in one place. So I have my pinboards that I created in the beginning. I have external presentation links from Canva. I have my shared files, my external documents down the bottom here. And then I also have a space for my invoices. So these automatically sync to your dashboard as well. If you do invoice through Programa. Now you'll notice that these schedules say feedback required on them. So your client can usually click on here. They will get a summary view. So they can read the specs if they want, or it'll be in presentation mode, which is a bit more visual, easy for them to digest when it's pictures. I think it is easier for all of us. And then they can go through, see financials if you give them access to that, as well as the approval and feedback tab. So what this is doing is acting as your proposal. So it's a bit of a different way of working. So you don't necessarily have to export and create an entire separate proposal now. It's all done within your client dashboard. So it gives them just a snapshot of what you're proposing. So these are the couple of different options. I have the price, finishes, images, and then they can go through, reject, and approve anything. And also leave you comments. From here, it does give them a little disclaimer. If you're acknowledging that you've reviewed and understand what you are approving from here. And all of your comments filter back into your live schedule. So once these are approved or rejected, those statuses that I mentioned will update automatically. Approve, approve, approve. Fabulous. Terms and conditions, these are your terms and conditions, so you can set those at your own standard. Okay. Awesome. Just give this a refresh. Now I'm sure you're wondering about pricing. That's always a big question. Approvals tab here, you'll see it goes red when the client does approve and rejects things. So it's all date stamped and time stamped, as you can see. And then whichever client did the approval, you'll be able to see their name, unless if there's multiple, you'll know who did it. This is your version history. You can mark them complete, etc. And then all of those statuses here have changed. Statuses are important because that is how you can do your procurement, invoicing, purchase orders, etc. I'm not going to go into too much depth with that, just because everybody does it a little bit different. If you do have questions, I'm happy to have a chat with you at another time. We do integrate with Stripe and QuickBooks for accounting purposes. And I'll do a quick snapshot in a second. I just do want to show you financials because it is important. Financial tab easily calculates all of your profits, markups, client pricing, etc. So if you can see your trade pricing versus the retail price, you can hit this toggle here to add markup. So you can set your markup percentage, or you can just set a profit margin for yourself. So say I want to make $500. That will change the pricing, generate your client price for you. So you don't need to worry about your trade pricing being shown to clients as long as you have this markup button turned on. It's always just going to show the client their client price. Okay, so all your totals are per section here, and then all along the top. If you do need a more detailed report, I would recommend exporting this to Excel, so that will give you a line-by-line breakdown of all the percentages and everything that way. Procurement tab is done through schedules, as well as you can just create your purchase orders from here, do your quoting from here. You're noticing a theme. It's all done from schedules. So that is that. I'll show you invoicing quickly, and then I'll wrap it up there to leave time for some questions. So your invoicing section is done per project, and then gives you the ability to, like I said, integrate your QuickBooks account, or we also integrate with Xero as another option. So I know that's more common with our European and Australian users, but that is an option as well, where you can add custom line items into your invoices and then easily pull from your schedules. So it has all of your products in here. It'll generate the client price. So if you do have markups, that's what's going to pull in. And you can easily filter by those statuses. So I'll pull my approved product, select from there what I'd like to invoice, and add them. And voila, generated in a couple seconds. And just hit ready to send. So a couple different options there too. ACH, credit card, and bank transfer options. That's all done through Stripe. Different transaction fees. Like I said, I'm not going to go into too much depth because it's different per region, it's different per country. So we can share that information with you separately. Okay, well, that is about everything we touched on. Thank you very much for listening to me chat to you. If there are some questions, I'm happy to answer some now. Looks like Melissa's all over it. But I did want to mention as well, we are doing a Black Friday sale currently. Oopsie. So that is a 40% off annual plans. So crazy deal. We only do this once a year. It's on annual plans, expires on November 30th. So the code is BF24 or $40 at checkout. So that's just on annual plans. We also offer month-to-month flexible plans, but that one's not on discount currently. Can you show how to copy schedules and tasks? Yes. Okay, somebody just asked how to duplicate or copy tasks and projects. So that again is done through our magic 3 dots. So if you want to duplicate an entire project, you're going to go to the project page here, hit the 3 dots, duplicate project. So that's going to duplicate the entire thing. And if we're referring more so to project management tasks, same idea. 3 dots, top right, copy phases and tasks. So that would pull up all your projects, and then you can choose which one you want to add those tasks into. That is kind of a hot tip to make templates. So I do recommend making, say, a studio project for your team, which has specific templates, or if you have commercial grade standard products that you usually use that have a lot of kind of in-depth notes, I'd recommend kind of creating a template for that, and then you can easily duplicate them into each project, and then your teams across using the same templates that way too. It just creates consistency. But the same goes for duplicating schedules and tasks. So I can hit the 3 dots, copy to, this would copy the schedule over. Or you can do individual products by using the check mark boxes, action, copy to. Subscription rates in March. I'd like to use this promo code. The promo code, so the promo code is for new accounts only. Unless you're on a monthly plan, you can upgrade to an annual plan. So yes, the discount is just for new users. Trying to share a link to clients so they can improve our drive, but we can't seem to get it going. Okay, Sean, this one's for you. So you need to go into the schedule. It may just be a matter of you haven't changed the statuses yet, or added in their email. So make sure that all the statuses are, sorry, not statuses, all the products that you want a client to review or approve and reject, essentially, you need to mark them as client review. So you can do these in bulk or do them one by one. And you want to do client review or action, change status, client review. Then you're going to hit share. You need to add the client's email address into publish to client dashboard. So the approval and rejection aspect only works on the client dashboard. It's not going to work if you use this publish to web link, because that's essentially giving the client access to that direct schedule where you're, it's going to pull up the products. And then from here, just make sure that you have can approve turned on. So that should hopefully fix that. Let us know if you're still having some troubles with that, Sean. How can you copy just one individual task? You can't copy just one individual task. You would have to just literally copy and paste it on your keyboard. It's either copying all of them or none. Can a team member with designer access? Yes, everybody can use the Clipper tool. So basically our subscription is one fee. So you get everything included in that subscription cost, but it is a per user subscription. So it depends how many designers you have on your account. That's how we're going to charge you. But everybody has access to all of the tools unless you are, it's just the invoicing kind of aspects that are hidden dependent on if you're admin and owners. All right. I'm just going to read. Can you create a pinboard? Do timesheets integrate into QuickBooks for billing? Yes. So I'm just answering, do timesheets integrate into QuickBooks for billing? Yes, they do, in a sense. So if you have your QuickBooks integrated, so QuickBooks is its own subscription. So we don't charge, Programa doesn't charge you for QuickBooks, but you do have to have your own QuickBooks account in order to integrate them. And what it does in the invoices, is essentially when you generate an invoice in Programa, it's acting as a one-way sync into QuickBooks. So if I do add time entry here, say I pull Lexi's hours, 50 hours, and I add that onto an invoice, then this technically, you do have to add an hourly rate there. But this invoice is what would sync over to QuickBooks. So you can choose the income or expense account within QuickBooks. So you'd have to set that up on the QuickBooks account or QuickBooks side first, and then have like a time tracked hours or something account in QuickBooks in order for that to sync over. But those draft invoices do share. Jennifer, so she asked, how does the hide button work? I have material and labor involved in a custom product, but I only want to present to a client as an overall item. Yes, so hidden status is what you want. So when you have things marked as hidden, you can see it internally, but whoever you're sharing with, it's hidden. So if you're using the live links, all those kind of component pieces, if they're marked as hidden, like I said, you guys can see them, but they can't. What I usually do, let's go to a furniture schedule. Is have a section like so. So then I'll have one additional line item. So let's say these are marked hidden. And then I'll mark my final piece. So that's like a custom sofa as client review. So then they'll only be able to see that final line item. And then shipping, freight, labor. If it's a custom piece, then I will have a labor charge probably integrated into that actual custom piece itself. But if it's extra charges, sometimes I'll make a separate section with shipping, freight, labor charges that way. Okay. Any other last questions you'd like to run by us? All right, cool. Well, the last thing I'll say, if you haven't started a free trial, you can do so from our homepage. So just head to programa.design, start for free, and you can register for a free trial. And then if you'd like from there to upgrade your account. So if you did want to upgrade to a subscription, so like I said, some people get a little bit confused with the upgrade option. That just means upgrading to a paid subscription. So that's where you can choose a monthly or yearly plan. So you would just go through the steps and upgrade your account that way. But like I said, if you do have any other questions, feel free to pop into Need Help, our intercom live chat function. So Melissa and I will be on there for the rest of the day monitoring that chat. We're happy to answer all of your questions. And you can always book into have a demo call with us. Can the customer account comment on the images? Yes, on the client dashboard, if you mark things as client review for the approval and rejections, then they can leave you comments as well. Hi, Lena. In regards to your question, the promo is for new users only at this time. Raquel, yes. So if you wanted to pay for a year now to take advantage of the discount, if you're a new user, you can switch your accounts. Just make sure you do that before your subscription renews at the end of the year. All right. Is tax based on the cost or does it include the markup? Jennifer, does tax based on the cost, does it include tax is calculated on the product. So you set up your tax rates per project as inclusive or exclusive. So you're telling the software whether or not you want, so what am I trying to say? Whether you want the tax to be a separate line item. Actually, Melissa, I believe, no, the tax isn't going to include markup. Yes, Melissa. Yeah, exactly. Tax will calculate based on client cost. Just seeing any last questions. I'm just going to send through in the chat our calendars. So if anybody did want to chat with us, you can. All right. Fabulous. Thank you again, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Ciao.